All right, we are into the first mock draft. Some would call it a very early, too early mock draft. We're getting into our first mock draft of the season. We've got 3 analysts on board. We've filled up at least half a mock draft here on ESPN, and we're going to rip in. So you're going to get into our thoughts about where we are 10 weeks out from the season. Let's get into it. G'day everybody, welcome to Ball Logic Fantasy Basketball Podcast. It is silly season. We're about 10 weeks out from the season, and of course we're here to do a mock draft. I've got Flanders and I've got Malley in the studio with me. Flanders, first of all, mate, how are you? It's the first time we've had a chance to podcast together, mate. Looking forward to it.
It is across a couple of different codes in other sports here, but it's good to be on here with you, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to ripping in. Malley is probably one of the only OGs of Inside NBA over the last couple of years, mate. First chance for us to podcast together as well. I'm looking forward to it. I've seen your punting strategy as a follower of the podcast over the last couple of years. What are you looking for today?
I'm looking forward to you popping double cherries over here, mate. This must be you must be very excited just with 2 new fresh faces to laugh at your jokes and get involved.
Yes. So for some reason, people just don't laugh at my jokes. I don't know if that's you or me that need to be concerned about that. Probably me, but no, it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. It's very, very early in the season. We've got 10 weeks to go. It's very hard to fill a mock draft. We were just saying before we came online, but we've got a few of the IFS faithful and a few mates jumping in here. So we've got 9 or 8 in this mock draft out of 12. So at least it'll slow things up enough, and we'll hopefully make it as realistic as we can 10 weeks out. Before we jump in, Flanders, your draft board, mate, I'm assuming we're pretty close to done. We'll be releasing that in the next couple of weeks. How you feeling about it at the moment?
Feeling pretty good, mate. I'm pretty happy where I've got some people here. I can see some wild positional changes and people moving up boards and down boards, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with where everything's at the moment.
ADPs are a bit crazy at the moment as well, isn't it? So it's tough to get a proper gauge on where everyone's head's at. Malley, you had your draft board done probably 3 months ago. The most prepared man on the planet when it comes to fantasy basketball. How are you feeling about yours?
Mate, that thing has been tweaked so much within an inch of its life, hey? Like it's grim how many changes it's undergone. But yeah, it just feels like yesterday, probably because it was yesterday, that I sat down and looked at our rankings, our predictions from last year, just the old crew's predictions, and just saw where people came out. And I was pretty happy with that. Gave me a little bit of encouragement, I guess you could say, to start this new season, that I must know something that I'm talking about, because a few of them worked out pretty nicely.
Yeah, nice. Where was the biggest win for you across last season then? Because you obviously were a part of the original team for Inside NBA, obviously one of the only ones coming across for this year, but you would have had a few wins if you nailed it with your draft board.
Yeah, Jalen Johnson was obviously one of the big ones. You know, I think as the season kind of progressed, people saw how valuable that guy was. Dyson Daniels, another one that stood out, that people were like, oh, it could be something, and you know, took him at 130 or something like that, and just played out and is a big part of 2 of my teams actually. So yeah, I'm hoping to find those little gems this year, seeing where the value is going to be, because there's no harm in picking those boys up again this year. I'm sure they'll do me well again, but clearly it's not a very well kept secret where their value is. So I'm going to have to buy them at a premium.
Yeah, that's right. It's hard, isn't it, when you got to make a decision now on all these guys that are what you would consider to be my guys. You've got to take them a lot higher this year off the back of getting it right last year, so you can never complain about that. We'll move into the studio. As we can see here, things are just starting to get ready. We can enter the draft now. I'm sure it's going to count in for probably a minute or so once this loads. Flanders, who are you high on this year, mate? Who's the guy that's standing out to you at the moment, maybe one in the top 3 rounds that you're targeting?
Who's the guy I'm probably high? So I'm big on Amen Thompson. I seen the breakout last year. I am riding that train really, really hard there. Who else? He's probably the more notable guy. I think I've got him at the top end of round 4. Who else? There's a few guys that kick around here. LaMelo's got to be someone as well.
It's during these mocks as well that you start to find your own patterns where you go, geez, I reckon I've picked that guy up 3 times in a row now. I guess that's happening, where you obviously
Yeah.
see who you value highly and who other people are leaving, and you're like, this could be something. And then as
Yeah.
soon as you get past mock season, it all falls into pieces, and you just got to scramble like every other son of a bitch.
And I guess the hard part as well is when you're talking about it on screen, a few times a week, as we do leading into the season, people start to understand who your guys are that you're chasing and probably try and snake you a little bit on those picks as well when they're drafting with you in leagues. So that's the challenge. I think my guy, I kept... For some reason, there was two. I'm going to turn this sound off. For some reason, there were two players that I kept drafting last year, and it was CJ McCullum kept falling all the time, like into the 110, 120s. And I also, who else did I get? I always had Scoot Henderson last year. He was a little bit of a letdown as well, sadly. So we've gone Wemby, Doncic at 2, Jokic at 3, which is definitely not going to happen, but you've got to take him. I'm sure Mullen's happy to take Jokic at 3 there. I'll just take Shea at 4, which I honestly don't think Shea's going to fall to me at 4 either, but that's the hard part when you're playing with bots in these situations. But now, who's your top 4 at the moment, Malley? It's pretty obvious who it is, but what's the order?
Well, look, I haven't been able to have a tweak of this yet, but I'm looking at who they've scripted here for me, and I love that James Harden's getting a little bit of love this year because most years he's not even anywhere close to the ESPN top 10 ranking. So at 7's probably a little bit excitable even for a James Harden super fan like me. But yeah, look, we've got Trae Young. I heard in the pod you boys talking the other day about Steph and his age, and I mean Harden's only 6 months to a year off that, so it's not like he's a spring chicken by any stretch of the imagination. But I could see there, Flanders, as you said, Scotty Barnes sitting at the 14th rank, which is, it reminds me of my a principal that I used to work with, and there was this kid who had a little missus at the primary school, and he turned to the kid and said, "Mate, you got to live this up because this is the best you're ever going to get in your whole life." And I feel like Scotty Barnes is living that mantra right now, where he's like, "Guess I'm the 14th best player," in a fantasy sense.
Yeah, from an ESPN perspective, some of the rankings are quite funny, and obviously people are just going to follow, aren't they? Like they're going to go, "Oh, Scotty Barnes, he's ranked 14th. Maybe I should be drafting him earlier." Where, in a sense, I don't know where you guys have him, but I think I've got him in off the top of my head, late 20s, early 30s from memory. So, yeah, definitely not a guy I'll be taking in the first round. That's for sure. We'll recap the draft as we're at. You took Trae Young, Malley. Harden went after. You got Giannis at 10, Flanders. Into Devin Booker, nice little back-to-back there on the, we'll call it the mini turn. Giannis into Booker, you'd be very happy with that.
Yeah, pretty happy with that. Obviously, I wasn't as high on Giannis. Pretty publicised there. But yeah, getting Giannis at 10's an elite slide, so happy to take that.
Absolutely. And Malley, you ended up getting Donovan Mitchell there with your second pick. How are you feeling about him this year?
I didn't even know that I did that. That's how rusty I am here. So I was trying to pick up. What was I trying to get there? LaMelo Ball. Donovan Mitchell. Look, I had him second in the tiers ranking for shooting guards. Not that he had a whole heap of competition. I think he'll start the season really well. Obviously, with Garland sitting, he's probably got to do more than his lion's share. So yeah, I wouldn't pick him over LaMelo Ball. But yeah, I see I've taken him apparently ahead of Jalen Brunson there, and I would be doing that IRL anyway. So, yeah.
Works out well. Some of these picks are flying off the board. Chet Holmgren, we skipped over. He ended up going with the 11th, which is too early for me, in my opinion. Kevin Durant went, I think, with the 13th pick. Chet Holmgren, 14. Booker, Sabonis, Mitchell, Brunson, and then Paulo Banchero coming down the bottom there. We're nearly at the turn again, back to Matrix. Some of these guys obviously are, auto picks. So, we can't read into that too much. But I took Tyrese Maxey on the turn for me, so I think it's around 19. I feel like he's in a pretty good spot this year to have a bit of an uptick. Obviously played limited time last year as well through injury. So I'm hoping that if Embiid can find some actual time on the basketball court, which would be fantastic, I think there's a bit of an uptick there for Tyrese Maxey. What are your thoughts on Tyrese Maxey this year, Flanders?
Yeah, I'm big on him. He's going to get he'll have that good role. He's got a lot of support now as well, so I'm big on him. the assist numbers are going to be out of this world for him. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's back to me, and I haven't been paying anywhere near enough attention. But it's hard to look past Jalen Williams at this point, coming into my third pick. Did I get him a little bit early? Yeah, maybe. But I feel like he's probably the last one on this board, and I don't have enough time when you're running a podcast and trying to work out rankings to look at exactly where I should be taking these guys. But I feel like he's been pretty solid from a fantasy basketball perspective for a while now. I'll check his ADP. Who are you looking at next, Malley? You're up next.
Well, like always, the first two picks of my auto drafts because I didn't disable the button like a damn fool. So do as I say, not as I do type situation here. But yeah, I've just got a plethora of guards still that I'd love to take. Like I'd still like to take Bain, Jamal Murray. There would be nice. Paul George, I can see him poking in. Absolutely not interested. I'd love a Men Thompson. I know that a lot of people are going to be going for him. Same situation as you. It's probably just too early for him at the moment, but you only live once. So I'm going to pluck him up right now and just try and build a team with what I've got here. So I've got like, even though I haven't got a big guy yet, with Trae Young, Mitchell, and Thompson, I've sorted myself absolutely for points with Young and Mitchell. I've got assists sorted with all three of those guys. Thompson will probably lose some of the assist numbers that he had last year, but that's okay. I also see that they've played the safest of safe bets and just made him a small forward so far on ESPN, but I'm sure that'll shuffle out too, and he'll get just like your boy Jalen Williams. He'll probably get multiple positions, which is always great for your third pickup.
Yeah, absolutely. Depending on where you're playing as well, Yahoo usually has different positional settings than ESPN does, that Fantrax does. So, depending on where you're drafting, of course, it will depend on your strategy. But yeah, I think you're betting. It's probably paying $1.10. You'll get a multi-position there from him for sure. Flanders, how you feeling, mate? You've gone Jaylen Brown with your third pick into Kristaps Porzingis on the turn there.
Yeah,
nice little pickup there.
Yeah, I was pretty happy to see KP slide that far into the fourth, so I'll happily take him back there. He's going to be great on the Hawks. I can see this coming a mile away.
And Jaylen Brown, obviously, has got the keys to the city, doesn't he, in Boston?
Sure does.
And until they shut him down, what's the likelihood of that happening? And why is it paying about $1.15?
I'm nervous about that. At worst, I will use him as trade value later on in the year if he's popping off and try to hope that somebody ignores the fact he's going to get shut down. But he's been given the keys to the city. They've traded everybody else away. It's going to be him, Anthony Simons. Like, Anthony's going to be jacking it up, but Jalen's going to have to be too. So I'm going to back him in there.
Yeah, I'm with you. Now, obviously, Joel Embiid ranked as the 54th player on this board at the moment. I don't have a centre, and I think where I'm at right now, it'd be silly for me to turn that away. I think he's going to slide down boards, Malley, a fair bit. People are probably scared off by the lack of time on the court last year. Do you reckon there's a chance that he can be pushing up into that top echelon of players again?
I'd say he's going to be a steal. Like, we know what his per game numbers are like. He's an absolute freak of nature. And last year he just fell out of everybody's minds well and truly. So he might be someone that you can pick up. I wouldn't take him inside my top three pickups because he doesn't play and that's your season kind of ruined. But for your fourth pick there, that's a bit of a no-brainer. Like, you're going to get potentially a top three guy if he can be healthy, even if it's only for 20 games or something like that. That'd be pretty joyous. Be able to win 4 rounds pretty easily with Joel as your fourth pick person on your team. So
yeah. I mean, look, I think he'll slide. It could ruin you, but at the same time, it could also win your league. It's one of those picks. I think it'll go either way. Your season could be over in week 8, or you could be very, very deep into finals if you can actually stay on the court. So, it'll be a very contentious pick. I'm very sure of that. Just realised I'm back on the clock. At the moment, I think I'm looking good for points. I've got Shea, I've got J-Dub, I've got Maxey, I've got Embiid. Like 4 big point scorers. The one thing I'm probably lacking at the moment is boards, maybe some stocks.
And picking up Joel yourself there, Braino, and coupling him with Maxey, you never concern yourself with overloading players from one team. That's not something that you're ever concerned about. You just pick them up if they're there.
Yeah, honestly, I'm picking best player, if I'm completely honest. Like, especially, I don't mind a stack. I'm not doing it on purpose. I think it's just where these guys fall to me. They're the best player available, in my opinion. So I don't mind. I think if, I don't see Philly really shutting down either of those guys if things go poorly. But at the same time, we know that the Thunder are going to compete deep into the tournament again. So there's no risk there for me unless obviously injury, and you can't predict that. So let's recap some picks since Embiid, Fred VanVleet off the board there. Paul George taken at the end of the fourth, bit too early in my opinion. I've got him in the 60s, 70s potentially. Zion as well. So Matrix on the turns got Zion into Josh Giddey. So nice little double there for him. CJ McCollum off the board in the fifth round is incredibly early. Jalen Green. I ended up auto drafting Jalen Green apparently, so go me. And so I'm with you, Malley, on the auto draft committee. Walker Kessler, Kobe White off the board, Randall, and then you've taken Mark Williams. You want to talk about him?
Yeah, just the same as a few of the guys we just talked about there. Injury concerns are always there, but you're going to tie yourself in knots trying to think who's going to be injured this season. I mean, I put a post out the other day just talking about Tari Eason, and he played 82 games, full 82 in his first season, and then he's had a stink of the last two. You could say the same about Chet, where he played a completely unhindered season and he didn't play for an entire season. So you don't know what you're going to get. You know what they're going to do while they're out there, and that's basically what you need to focus on. So Mark Williams in Phoenix, he's going to get all the rebounds. Like he's an absolute shoe-in for a double-double every game. Yep. His percentages are going to be delightful. I've got a little bit of a deficiency now, probably with threes, picking up Johnson, Amen, and then him. So I'm going to probably lean punt, which is a little wild because I took Trey with my first pickup, even though his threes probably slid a little bit last year, and Mitchell second there. So I've left it a little late. I usually don't wait till I've rounded out my starting team to decide on my punt, but I'm definitely going in that direction now.
Yeah, and that makes sense. We'll talk about punting on future episodes, of course, and obviously it's pretty much how you draft for the most part, tactically, so that makes a lot of sense. Flanders, talk to us about your last two picks, mate. You went Rudy Gobert after getting Kristaps Porzingis, so really shoring up those blocks and boards into Mikal Bridges.
Yeah, I know blocks can be pretty hard to get late on unless you're going for like a Claxton, someone like that there. And I think Mikal's still going to get a real good run at it. As much as they did change Tibbs out there and they're probably going to have a minutes drop there, I can still see him, being a top 70, 80 player. So I'd be pretty confident with him there.
Yeah, and it makes complete sense. I think we're starting to see a lot of these guards go off the board now as well. DeJounte Murray's taken, even though I think he's probably going to be out for the first month or two of the season as well off the back of that. Do we have any news on when he's going to be back, Malley?
No, but I did see that he was posting, and he's around the team, and that's good because there was a little bit of a roughness with him. I mean, he's a very emotional dude. He had a stinker of a year on and off the court last year, so I'm hoping he's one of my favourite players with Harden and Wemby. So I'm hoping that he can heal up and then get back out there again this year. But yeah, I think he's still months away, and that'll give plenty of time for Jordan Poole to settle himself in, and then the rug will be ripped from underneath his feet pretty well when DeJounte's back, I guess, and they'll have to figure out how to make it all work.
Yeah, a bit like Kyrie, isn't it? I think they're on a very similar timeline from last year's injuries, obviously. So Kyrie missing the first start of the season. Flanders, when are you looking to pick up guys like Kyrie, DeJounte? Are they someone that if they fall to you in the 8th, 9th round, you'd take them because there's too much value as a stash?
Yeah, I think that sort of area, there's just too much value there. If you're pretty confident that you've set up the team well enough that you can hang out for them, I'd be waiting. Nice. What did I pick there, mate? How'd you go with Jordan Poole?
Don't know why I ended up... No, I didn't auto-pick him, thankfully. I nearly did. But I'm not really sure. I got sniped on Michael Porter Jr. I was going to take him in with this pick, but didn't. So I'm going to take Brandon Ingram, Mr. Sleepy himself, the sleeper. I reckon there's every chance that he could have a bit of a improved season this year if he can stay on the court. obviously in a different situation over in Toronto as well. So I would imagine he'll be demanding nearly majority usage out there. So it'll pretty much be his team. So yeah, interested to see how he goes with the ball in his hand a little bit more. Yeah, sniped by Michael Porter Jr. there at the back end. So he went, and he's an interesting one in a different situation this year. Brandon Ingram after that. Jordan Poole was taken. John Collins and Avita Zubac rounds out. We're at pick 7 in round 7 at the moment. So, yeah, starting to get into the opinion-based draft picks, I think, Mally, aren't we? It's those ones where you start to pick up these either fallen guys that have plenty of value that you think people are missing on, or it's you're probably reaching a little bit now on these guys you feel like might get snapped up in the next couple of rounds.
Yeah, certainly so. And having Zoo go nearly at the 80th pick is pretty sickening in itself. Like, I know that he's going to be backed up by Brook this year, and he'll probably lose a few minutes. He's also got John Collins out there to contend with, and hopefully a healthy Kawhi Leonard. But that's a guy, he's still a round about the 50, 60 mark. I wouldn't let him slip another 2 rounds on that. But yeah, he might be a guy that people get scared of, and he'll be sitting in my queue waiting to join the old Malley squad.
Absolutely. We haven't really had a chance to do a proper queue because it is mock draft 1 for us for the season. But also, just with the rankings where they are, you probably need a good half an hour to hop in here beforehand and get everything right. Tell us where your last couple of picks are at, Flanders. Who'd you take for 7 and 8?
Yeah, I went Simons and then Cam Thomas. I needed to fill out the guard spots, both on the utility side of things as well. So Anthony Simons is the next guy with the keys to the house. So sort of stacking him and Jaylen Brown together. And then Cam Thomas, he's going to be playing for a big contract next year if he comes back on the qualifying offer. So pretty high on him to be playing his ass off.
And then we see Cam Johnson go straight after that. Again, another guy in a new situation. He's pretty much... I don't know how you feel about Cam Johnson, Flanders, but for me, it just feels like he's just Michael Porter Jr., but maybe not as good. Like, I just maybe think we're going to get a little bit less of what Michael Porter Jr. gave Denver last year from the same bloke.
Yeah, I can see something very similar there. They've sort of pieced a lot of things now around having Jokic, and they've put pieces around him to focus very much on him. So I can see him just being a 3-point corner guy.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's pretty much the role I think for him. We've still got some decent picks on the board here. There's a couple of guys that I'm looking at around this mark now, where we're coming out into the back end of the 8th round, and the one guy that I'm
yeah, go on.
I was just saying, one guy that I really like is Asar Thompson. I think there's a real pathway for minutes for him this year, and it looks like based on my team, I'm leaning into kind of steering away from boards. So I might lean into just kind of punting rebounds with this team and kind of play pretty small. A lot of my guys, I think, are going to put up some decent stock numbers, though, as smaller guards. So might be leaning into a 0 rebound type build, which I don't often do, to be fair.
Yeah, we don't often see someone in the situation that Cam Johnson was in, basically going and filling a spot that's perfectly cut out for him, like with Michael Porter leaving and then him coming, and they're both very similar builds. They're both very similar, rollmen kind of on their respective teams. So, it just doesn't happen that often. It's usually someone coming in. This is kind of a hat and a hat for me. They're just picking out one guy and then putting another guy in who's basically the same on a different contract. But that's what Denver like to do. They didn't make barely any changes last year, and then this year they've made quite a few changes, but all of them have been safe as houses type deals. They're not there to rock the boat.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly right. Recapping picks where Dylan Harper go to Matrix on the turn there at the end of the 8th round, pick 96. So that's, kind of early for Harper in my opinion, but he must be pretty high on him. Into Bradley Beal, which I think is a pretty solid pick there at that point. Somehow DeAndre Ayton's ranked at 126 in ESPN, so I'll pick him up now. I know I was probably struggling to find any sort of decent big man at this type of the draft, so I'm not a big Ayton fan, not a big Ayton guy, but I'm more than happy to take him around that 100 mark this year with the role that he'll have in LA. What are your thoughts on Ayton, and where would you take him, Flanders?
Yeah, I think you probably got a good value there for him around this. What are we, round 9 now? I think you've picked up wicked value there. This is the 100 now, are we?
Yeah.
Nearly there? So, yeah. It's wicked value for them. He's the only centre at Los Angeles, so.
Yeah, exactly. Isaiah Hartenstein, Malley, was that an auto draft or was that a tactical draft?
No, mate. No, that's all. That's all
It's all you.
from the banks of Matt Alley. It's just something that I've been thinking about. I actually had DeAndre Ayton in my queue as well, just sitting there. I'm interested to see what he does in Los Angeles. Are they going to make a man out of him? Because that's kind of what teams have been trying to do since he got into the league. He's clearly going to be the fifth option out there, at minimum fourth, but going to be the fifth option out there most nights. So it'll be interesting to see what he will do for them. But I have a feeling he's at least going to play. They're not going to just let him ass about and have his little cry moment. So, yeah, I think they'll actually make him play. Just depends what he can do while he's playing.
Yeah, 100%. I have high hopes for him, more so just because I think he's going to be in a good situation where they're going to use him in the pick and roll a fair bit. It's more a matter of is he prepared to get dirty this year? Because he's very well known to be a guy that avoids contact. He doesn't like fucking doing the dirty work or getting in the low post too often. So I'm interested to see whether he actually fits in around. And obviously, when you're in a team with LeBron and Luka, you pretty much do what you're told. So I'm interested to see whether he changes his game a little bit this year.
And
Really
what happens the first time? Yeah. What happens the first time that LeBron has a go at him mid-court? Does he crumble, or does he kind of rise up and become a better player for it? I think that'll be interesting to see as well.
Yeah. I mean, look, it could be fantastic for his game, let's be honest. We've had a fair few picks go. Obviously, nearly impossible for us to keep up with all of them. But since you picked Hartenstein, RJ Barrett went off the board. I reckon he cops a bit of a hit with Ingram in the team this year. Herb Jones went to you, Flanders, and then you ended up taking Keontae George off the back of that as well. Talk to us about those two.
Yeah, I needed to fill out just a bit of all-roundedness from positional-wise. So, yeah, I'm big on Keontae George as a pick. Mm-hmm. They're just going to let him ball out in Utah. He sort of showed that after the All-Star break last year. So it was a great decision there. And Herb Jones very slept on after his injury ravage last year. So,
yeah, I'm a big fan of Herb Jones. Gets your stocks, doesn't hurt you too much in nearly any category, except obviously he's not a big three shooter. I've got two decisions to make. I'll make Donovan Clingan my decision. I feel like I'm chasing that center position, that big man position to overcompensate for what I didn't get at the start of the draft. But I could have taken Alex Sarr there. I feel like maybe there's definitely room for sophomore breakout for him. I'm pretty high on him this year, to be honest. And Matrix has gone and taken him on the turn there at the end of the 10th. So pretty good pick. Tobias Harris also going as well. I know he's been known in previous podcasts as Houses Harris because he's safe as Houses Malley. Has anything changed for you, or do you think he's still that reliable guy you can get between rounds 9 to 11?
Yeah, I'd love to see him do a little bit more than he did last year, but he kind of came into his own as the season went on, and I stuck with him the entire time, and I think in the end he was actually a fairly valuable player. But yeah, I think I'll still pick him up again, and I love watching Detroit, and if I can't get someone better on Detroit, namely Cade, I'll have to pick up a Tobias Harris in one of my leagues so I can have an excuse to put the Detroit game on.
Yeah, that's completely fair. I'll take Andrew Wiggins there. There's really not a lot screaming out at me at the moment. We're into the 11th round at the moment, so we're coming into our final two picks now in this draft, and things fly along pretty quickly when you're talking about it and in a mock draft with half a lobby that is inactive. So yeah, these will get better as they go on. That's for sure. Scoot Henderson and Alex Sarr were taken on the turn there for Matrix. I took Andrew Wiggins. Where are you thinking for your next pick, Flanders? Where are you at?
I'm probably thinking of taking a couple of flyers here. I was actually pretty big on this guy, and I think he's got a bit of a role that he picked up in the back half of last year. I'm going to take Pulel Ware.
Yeah, I know, Malley, you're very high on Ware as well.
Big fan of him as well.
Yeah, no, I think he's going to have a great season. And unfortunately, he seems to be absorbing some of what Bam does that makes Bam so great. But that's all right. Out with the old, in with the new, a little bit there. And Kalel's definitely earned his position on that team and in fantasy teams as well.
I know you'd
Yep.
be frothing to talk about Tari and Malley, so I'll give you the floor. And one of your my guys, I reckon, is fair to say.
Yeah, I'd say he's probably my biggest gamble because it's going to go one or two ways, and it's probably not going to go the way that I want it to. There's so much um, happening. There's so many decent players in Houston at the moment. I think as a player he'll grow this year. Whether his usage and the time that he can actually get on the court grow with that, I don't think that's going to happen. I think they'll probably be pretty easy on KD and hold him back. And it might be those nights that he really excels. I'd say Houston are going to be much like, an OKC from the last season, where on the nights that they have these guys sitting, Eason will come into his own and have these big blow up nights, and maybe it'll be then that I trade him off to somebody and someone else who's going to enjoy having a 1 in 4 that's decent, while I pick up someone else who's a little bit more assured in their role.
Completely fair. I'm tossing up between Santi Aldama and Jeremy Sohan at the moment, and I feel like every single year I end up with Sohan, so it'd be rude of me to leave him in the first draft of the year. Maybe a bit of a my guy as well, especially when he ended up getting that point guard eligibility. Was it at the start of last season or season before? That was a great time to be alive as a Sohan owner. How are you rounding out the draft? We've also got one more pick here. Ended up being a 13-pick draft, 156 deep at the moment. Flanders, how are you rounding out your team? You got Igor Demon there with your third pick in the 12th round.
Yeah, I'm big on Igor Demon. We went through it in the team review for Brooklyn, and I think he's going to pick up a role there. I think they're just going to want to try some stuff. If you're going to be crap, at least be fun. And crap, and he's a big 6'10", 6'9" guard. I think he is. He's just huge, and I'm just keen to see what he's going to do. So a mock's a great time to take him.
Oh, 100%, absolutely. I think another guy that might fall into some pretty good opportunity in a team that's again not going to be very good unless their stars stay healthy is Con Newport. Probably a guy that you'll end up being able to stream early on. I don't think many people are going to draft him at the back end of the draft, but definitely a guy that I think could, come into his own. It'll take a while, and I think you're going to have to be patient with him, but I think a guy come second half of the season after the All-Star break, I reckon you could see some considerable minutes for him if and when LaMelo Ball goes down, Miller goes down, Bridges goes down. Who knows how they're going to play this out, whether they want another draft pick and they tank this year. Mally, what are your thoughts on Charlotte in general?
Well, they're loaded with guards now, and I'm more worried about what they're going to do at their center position. Again, it's going to be some absolutely disgusting watching in real life, but from fantasy, I think we're going to be able to hopefully snag somebody there who's at least going to get minutes. What they do in those minutes is going to be anyone's guess until we see. But I'm as uninterested about Charlotte as I have been at any other point in my NBA love affair.
And it's hard to love it too much, isn't it? When the majority of anybody who's relevant over there barely plays. That's the hard part, I think, to buy into that team. But they'll get a good draft pick, so that's great for them, I guess. Flanders, Mally, I'll throw to you first, mate. You finished with Cole Anthony. You also got Tamani Kamara. I love both of those picks. I think there's so much value there at the back end of your draft, picking up both of those guys. Talk to us about your thoughts on them.
Well, I'm looking at my team now and are an absolute defensive superpower. So if I don't at least make some people upset in the steals and blocks category, I don't know if I'll be able to take Matty with Wemby at 1 in the blocks category, but I'll sit in second in behind him. But yeah, I'm interested to see Cole Anthony. Will definitely be someone that I take a flyer on in a few of my proper drafts, because I'm hoping that he'll get the start. And if not, he'll hopefully get more minutes than they're going to feed to Kevin Porter Jr. Kamara is an interesting one. There's been obviously a lot of pieces moved in Portland, but they weren't shy about giving him huge minutes last year, and I really like what he did with them. He was another guy that kind of came out of nowhere, and I pulled off the waiver wire and just never threw back. But yeah, I just speaking back over my team. I got Trey Young there, who I auto drafted, but he's talking before about my guys. I think I'm a his guy. I think he always chooses me. I don't choose him because every season I seem to end up with him and auto draft pick that for me. They weren't going to let me get away with it this year. Donovan Mitchell, well, I feel like the caption for Donovan Mitchell this year is can't be worse than last year. So hopefully he can do something. Amen Thompson probably took him a little bit early, but I just love what he does. He's so exciting. And even if my team sucks, I'll just enjoy watching him put up big numbers. Jalen Johnson, he slipped to the fourth round. I can't see that happening very often outside of these early season mock drafts. Mark Williams, double king this year. Just watch him. Austin Reeves is one that I saw and I was like, I got to take him there. I think that was my sixth pick. He did so well last year, even when Luka came across. I thought, well, he's going to be the third guy. He's going to die. This is it for Austin Reeves, and he didn't. He just kept going. In fact, he kind of went from strength to strength. Then I got a bunch of centers. I got Jakob Pertl, I got Hartenstein, and I got Eve Nisi. So plenty of rebounds, a couple of blocks in there as well. Cam Johnson, I don't really know what he's doing on my team. He doesn't make any sense, but at least my points hopefully will be buffeted a bit there. And then just the guys already talked about, East and Kamara, and then Cole Anthony in the end.
Good little team. You're right about defensive superpower, absolute powerhouse. Especially from round 5 onwards is no one's getting through you. That's for sure. Talk to us about your squad, Flanders. How'd you end up going, mate? Start from 1.
Yeah, I pretty much took everybody pretty well. I'd be pretty happy there. So I got Giannis. I'd be happy to take him, sliding to 10 every day of the week. Then got Book on the turn. Again, shouldn't be getting him in the second round. Jaylen Brown, again, keys to the city for that guy. So points are pretty well stocked there. I was pretty well covered there and just had to sort of patch fill everything else after that. So got Porzingis and Gobert next times around. So stocks were pretty covered there. Mikal Bridges just a bit of an all-round guy and durability king. So I know I'm going to be able to get rounds after rounds out of him, and just you don't factor in injuries, but it's also good to know that you're going to have a guy that doesn't get injured. Mm-hmm. Touch wood. Then Anthony Simons again, just a keys to the city sort of guy. Cam Thomas playing for a contract. Herb Jones again, just filling that stocks at the sort of the wing guard area there. Keontae George is a bit of a flyer. I'm pretty happy to take him. I can see him getting a fair few assists this year. They're just gonna be fun out there and just run a lot of this youth. That's all they're gonna be able to do out there. Him and Ace Bailey, I can see a nice connection coming together there.
Yep. Yeah, I like Keontae George. I reckon it's a really good pick there. Like, you're going to get points from him as well. I think his assists take a bump this year. Sexton, obviously, you take his 4 assists away. And I think there's definitely a pathway for him to be pushing 6-7 assists a game. Yeah, for sure. Khalil Ware, I think he's in for a breakout, so I think he's going to get a bump all round, probably a 20% bump overall. I could see there. Igor Demon, again, that's just that flyer, which I already spoke a bit about. But I took Sandy Aldama. I couldn't believe he made his way to the last round there after everybody sort of just overlooked him there, and I like him in Memphis out there. So that's more of a vibes pick. No, there's nothing wrong with vibes picks, that's for sure. I reckon 3/4 of my team are just vibes picks. It's the way I draft. As long as you like watching them, that's what matters, right? Exactly. I took Shea with the 4th pick. He won't drop to 4th in any other draft, but I'll do it for today for the sake of it. And then I took Tyrese Maxey to really shore up the guard position. I feel like I'm pretty set early on now. I know that you're going to get assists early. I think I'm going to get assists from both of these guys. Shea, obviously the scoring champion last year, so I feel like points and assists I'm pretty solid for. Jalen Williams then pairing with that Shea stack, and then I've got Embiid for my Maxi, my Philly stack. So I've gone double stack to start, which I don't think I've ever done before. So it's funny how that works out. Not intentional either, but Embiid falling to where was that? 36 and 9, 45, I think. Anywhere, I think I've got him on my draft board around that kind of late third. Probably like early 30s. I think I've got him at maybe even earlier. So I'm more than happy to take him at 45. Jalen Green was an auto pick, don't mind me, but he fits into the points and shoot everything style of ball that I've continued to draft. OG Anunoby's, again, one of those really kind of... The guys that just play, 76 to 78 games a year. They never really let you down. He's good for stocks as well, shoots the 3-ball well. It didn't really hurt me in any category. So I took OG there. With my 6th pick, Brandon Ingram, I think there's definitely the keys to the city vibe in Toronto for Brandon Ingram this year as well. But he's got some guys to facilitate around him, so I think that'll help his game. Then I took Asar Thompson, who I feel like is very close to a breakout year. I think maybe even last year he was teetering on the edge of just getting that opportunity and didn't quite get it. But this year seems to be the year where I think the minutes go up. I think that the opportunity and the usage goes up there in Detroit. DeAndre Ayton, I somehow fell into the 9th round. I took him there. That's obvious. Donovan Clingan, probably going to be a my guy for me. I feel like he'll probably be the starting centre in Portland. I'm pretty confident. I think that if you're shoring up rebounds, which I did need to chase at this time part of the draft, I did need to try and find some rebounds and some blocks. So he shored up that to get that in the 10th round, I think is value. And then Andrew Wiggins, that one doesn't really make much sense for me at the end, but a bit of a guy that I know is nailed into a role, at least in Miami. And then Jeremy Sohan, bit of a vibes pick at the end, and Newpol, more of an upside guy. So, not too bad for our first crack, guys. I guess, for anybody watching, obviously, and wanting to get involved in future mock drafts, we'll be doing these ideally every single week. We'll be doing our best to get on a Sunday and do a bit of a mock draft with different group of us. We've got 6 people that'll be involved, potentially 7. So you'll see some different faces every time we mock draft. To wrap things up, Flanders, I'll throw to you first, mate. You've been doing the articles inside the Patreon, which are awesome work. If people want to sign up, they can do it for free. The link is in the description below. Who's your guy that you feel is real due for a breakout? You might not have got him today, but someone you're keeping a real close eye on in the preseason.
I saw Thompson sliding that far. I'm huge on that guy. We've seen what his brother did. He's only a matter of 12 months now behind his brother, and I think Amen was like a top 50 guy that after the All-Star break last year. I can say the same thing for Asar this year. So I'm huge on him. Love it.
Malley, how about yourself, mate?
Maybe less of a breakout, but maybe like a bounce back. I'm looking at Chet. Things didn't go well for him last year, and the injury really plagued him. I think that he's going to be forgotten a lot this year, and he's not the flavour of the month anymore. And I'm going to maximize on that. I'm going to take that opportunity and I'm going to grab him because I think that he's going to have a good season. Give me some great blocks and rebounds and hopefully score.
Yeah, look, I'm actually pretty high on Andrew Nembhard. I feel like he's probably a guy that people will just pass on due to last year, but no Tyrese Halliburton this year in Indiana. It's, if anyone's going to be putting their hand up to have a massive increase in usage and just counting stats in general, I think it's going to be Nembhard. He might hurt you in efficiency, but in the right team build, I think he's a guy that, could drop to 110, 120, which is just an absolute steal. I think he could be a top 80 player this year if everything goes his way. So, yeah, I'm pretty high on him. Guys, that'll do us. That'll wrap us up. We'll be bringing you one a week. We've also got the team previews coming. We'll also be doing positional deep dives in the coming weeks as well. Plenty of off-season content coming to you over the next 10 weeks before your fantasy basketball drafts. Let us know whose team you like the most or any questions you have. Drop them in the comments, and we'll see you for the next one. Catch you then.